Karim Asad Ahmed Khan, solemnly undertake that I will perform my duties.
ICC swears in Karim Assad as new prosecutor who replaces the Gambian-born Fatoumata Bensouda. Gambia is ranked as the second largest recipient of remittances in sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa's government has eased some COVID-19 restrictions on private power suppliers to tackle electricity crisis. And global domestic workers are still fighting for recognition after 10 years of labor rights. These and more coming on The World Today. Stay with us. Good evening, viewers. You're watching The World Today newscast here on Africa TV with me, Sohna Tunkara, and now to our news in detail. The International Criminal Court earlier today sworn in Karim Assad Ahmed Khan as the new prosecutor after the term of the Gambian-born Fatoumata Bensouda ends. Serving the Netherlands-based court for 9 years, Bensouda's term in office has never been an easy one, and recently he has been even banned from entering the United States as he prepped to investigate the U.S. invasion in the Middle East. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony, the new prosecutor promised to foster cooperation and collaboration wherever possible so as to nurture engagement rather than competition. Here's an excerpt of him speaking.
In this 21st century, medieval crimes are being committed by modern people. Rape, slavery, killings, torture, attacks against identity, all manner of persecution and destruction of cultural property take place as we speak. But through the other prism, through the other lens, this court and the whole Rome Statute architecture represents, in my view, a promise to the future that tomorrow need not be as bleak, as sorrowful as yesterday. To state parties, with respect, I commend you, every single state that has signed up and ratified the Rome Statute, for your commitment to international justice, your commitment to fulfill the promise that you have made. And I undertake, in my new position as prosecutor, to respect the statute, to comply with complementarity, and insist on independence. And I will endeavor to foster cooperation and collaboration wherever possible. I will endeavor to nurture engagement rather than competition. The priority for me, and I believe that's the principle of the Rome Statute, is not to focus so much on where trials take place, but to ensure that the quest for accountability.
That was Karim Khan speaking during his swearing-in ceremony as the new ICC prosecutor. Now, the World Bank has ranked the Gambia as the second largest recipient of remittances in sub-Saharan Africa, based on the share of the country's GDP. The development comes as the world marks International Day of Family Remittances, which seeks to highlight the great resilience of migrant workers in the face of economic insecurities. Let's see the files in this report.
Migrant remittances are recognized globally as a significant medium through which Gambians in the diaspora contribute to the country's development and poverty mitigation. The remittances flows surpass foreign direct investment as the biggest source of financial contribution in many West African countries. Reports from the World Bank reveal that the Gambia is the second largest country benefiting from remittances flow, as the country's capital transfer from remittances stood at over $588 million in 2020. This represents 48% of the country's GDP. Despite progress in access to remittances in sub-Saharan Africa, there remains a huge chunk of people that struggle to receive money sent for them from abroad. As a result, the International Fund for Agricultural Development urged governments and private institutions to invest more in digital infrastructure so as to make transfers easy, especially for those in rural areas.
In today's modern economy, remittances represent globalization, and the international community needs to work together to not only make it cheaper, but also to make it count more for millions of families and the communities in which they live.
Thousands of Gambians almost every year risk their lives to travel through the Mediterranean Sea to reach European shores in search of greener pasture. In recent years, Gambians have immigrated at a higher rate than every other African nation. According to the International Organization for Migration, migration plays a significant role in Gambian society, as estimated 11,800 Gambians are living abroad. Despite their contributions, some of the migrants are being deported mainly from Germany, as most of them are without proper documents. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Lacey.
From the report by Ndei Sise on matters of finance, the Commissioner of the Police Intervention Unit, Anderlin Bankase, has urged Gambians to join the fight against drug use in the country. Commissioner Bansange, who was briefing reporters after discovering 4 bags and 29 bundles of cannabis in a bunker in Banyanka village on Tuesday, underscored the importance of community policing, saying communities should help the police by reporting drug-related cases so as to ease police investigation. Asada Chow has more.
Despite being illegal in most countries around the world, the use and trafficking of illicit drugs remain a huge challenge for law enforcement officers. In recent years, drug use is becoming deeply rooted in many communities, way of life, and thus becomes a societal menace. Users consume drugs for various reasons, ranging from using it to celebrate a success or consuming it as a means of overcoming grief. In the Gambia, the use of cannabis is illegal, as it has various mental and physical effects, which includes alterations of one's state of mind and sense of time. On Tuesday, the National Drug Law and Enforcement Agency discovered 4 bags and 29 bundles of cannabis after a bunker in Banyanka village. The operation comes after the law enforcement officials were tipped by a concerned citizen in the community. Police Commissioner Adeline Besenge underlined the negative effects of drug use, saying it might lead one to commit many dangerous crimes.
Drug, we all know, is very, very bad. Drug can lead people into doing so many criminal activities. So the fight against drugs should be everybody's business.
Commissioner Adeline further emphasized the importance of community policing.
I just want to add on to that we want to thank the community for sharing those very important intelligence to us, because we cannot be everywhere. We cannot know what is happening around in the compounds and in the neighborhood, in the communities. We therefore ask the community, the people living with these people around, to give us relevant information so that we can fight these crimes together.
Experts say a constant use of drugs could cause serious reaction to the body, including a life-threatening condition that affects multiple body systems. Despite the political transition in Gambia, illicit drug trafficking and violent crimes continue to threaten the life and livelihood of ordinary citizens in the country. For iAfrica News, I am Aisatu Chow.
From the report by Aisatu Chow on Gambia's security unit urging people for their concerted effort in coping the rising criminal-related activities in the country. We move on to the ILO report, where 10 years after the adoption of a historic International Labour Organization convention that confirmed their labor rights, domestic workers are still fighting for recognition as workers and essential service providers. Working conditions for many have not improved in a decade and have been made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a new ILO report. Mariama Cham tells us more.
The International Labour Organization report assesses the working conditions of domestic workers 10 years after the adoption of Domestic Workers Convention in 2011. It highlights the progress made over a decade as well as the remaining legal and implementation gaps, and provides guidance on policies that can pave the way to make decent work a reality for domestic workers. As official explains, domestic workers were more vulnerable to the fallout from the pandemic because of long-standing gaps in labor and social protection.
Well, in our new report on domestic workers, the key figures are that there are just over 75 million domestic workers in the world. This is a very substantial part of the workforce, highly feminine workforce. 3/4 of the workforce are women, and extremely high levels of informality. 81% of domestic workers work in conditions of informality. And what we're trying to do is to see to what extent we are achieving the goals set in that convention adopted 10 years ago, which, stated simply, to provide these workers who are real workers like everybody else.
At the height of the crisis, job losses among domestic workers range from 5 to 20% in the most European countries, as well as Canada and South Africa. The COVID-19 pandemic is also a contributing factor on the working conditions that were already very poor, the report says.
What we've seen with the pandemic is that domestic workers have lost their jobs in greater numbers than others, or they've had their working time reduced more than others. So they've been hit harder in numerical terms. But looking underneath those numbers, what does it mean? Well, it can mean that domestic workers, because many of them live in the homes of the people they work for, they may have lost their place to live. They may have lost their home. Many of these workers are migrant workers, so their status within a country may be called into question. They may be stranded. So this is very quickly where the drama, and it's always a drama, of losing your job.
Domestic workers comprise a significant part of the global workforce in informal employment and are among the most vulnerable groups of workers. They work for private households, often without clear terms of employment, unregistered in any book and excluded from the scope of labor legislation. Currently, there are at least 67 million domestic workers worldwide, not including child domestic workers, and this number is increasing steadily in both developed and developing countries. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
The International Labour Organization new report reveals that domestic workers are still fighting for their rights to be observed. Now, in an effort to help ease the burden on the embattled power producer Eskom and make electricity accessible to South Africans, the government has eased the restrictions imposed on private power suppliers. Last week, the Ramaphosa-led government authorized a series of amendments to Electricity Regulation Act. The move is meant to allow independent power producers to enhance the electricity supply to the national grid. We have more of that in this report.
It exceeds calls from business to increase the threshold to at least 50 megawatts and allows the so-called embedded generation plants to provide electricity to the national grid and also to sell it to third parties.
It really does open the door in the short term, and by that I mean about 18 months, to about 5,000 to 6,000 megawatts of new generation coming on stream at no cost to the taxpayer, at no cost to the Treasury, no guarantees required from government. So this is a huge step forward.
The mining sector is raring to go. It's a heavy user of electricity.
The supplements what Eskom can't maintain and keep on the grid and need to expand. And the mining sector, I mean, we buy between 15 and 25% of Eskom's generation capacity. So, and we will keep on buying that. This just gives us, people are talking about 20 to 30% leeway.
Mining company Goldfields announced in February that it would be building a 40 megawatt plant at its South Deep operation near Johannesburg.
We will be sticking with our 40 megawatt plant, but we'd be foolish not to explore opportunities to take advantage of lifting the cap. We obviously need to link this to our energy requirements and phase it in over a period of time, and we will be looking at opportunities in this regard. As much as we want to say it's about the mining sector, it's about the country. I know the mining sector's got about 1.6 gigawatts, about 27 billion rands worth of expenditure waiting to go. That in itself is a good impetus into the economy.
We need to be just a little cautious. It has not yet been gazetted into law, and it's in the hands now, I guess, of the DMRE and NERSA to take that step to bring it into law.
This move by the government is set to be a game changer, provided all the regulations are in place and the red tape is reduced.
Commercial break and the news continues. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
My name is Honorable Ibrahim Akoli, a member of the Children's National Assembly of the Gambia. As we commemorate the International Day of the African Child today, I would like to remind you that, as enshrined in the Women's Amendment Act 2015, the government of the Gambia criminalized female genital mutilation and sets out strict punishment for anyone who engages in the practice. Despite its prohibition, coupled with the social and health consequences, our communities continue to widely practice FGM. As according to the Demographic Health Survey conducted in 2019, the national prevalence rate of FGM is 73%, which is very high and worrisome. In light of this, I call upon the government as the primary duty bearer to move from rhetoric to action and bring perpetrators of the practice of FGM to book. This message is brought to you by the Global Media Campaign to End FGM in partnership with Safe Hands for Girls and Child Protection Alliance.
Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is the World Today newscast. And now to our remaining stories. In a bid to fight against child sexual abuse, the Tunisian government has launched a new online portal. Despite the efforts made by the government in tackling online child sexual abuse, the country's civil society activists said there is a need to develop mechanisms and legislations to combat the problem. A data from UNICEF appeared to show 80% of children in 25 countries report feeling in danger of sexual abuse or exploitation online. Here's more of that in this report.
The Ministry of Women, Family and Seniors explained that the online portal will help report content, images and videos deemed harmful to children.
The online portal allows listing content, deleting reported images and videos, identifying victims among children so that they can be provided with psychological support by the Delegate of Child Protection and to initiate legal proceedings against the perpetrators of these crimes.
The ministry added that the online platform will also protect children against digital invasion and internet threats, especially with easing internet access in the North African state.
The number of internet users on smartphones, especially among children, has doubled since the outbreak of the pandemic. However, we've reported a sudden rise in online child sexual abuse cases during the lockdown. Our agents are very vigilant and ready to offer help and provide assistance to all vulnerable victims.
The Tunisian government's initiative is part of a joint project with the Council of Europe, the Internet Watch Foundation and UNICEF.
We welcome more positive internet use. Everyone on the two shores of the Mediterranean is aware that abuses must be targeted and stopped. This new portal is an essential tool for those efforts.
Tunisia is the first country in the Middle East and North Africa to take measures to allow individual children to submit complaints regarding specific violations of their rights. Experts have warned against the increasing number of online videos and images of sexual abuse seen by children in all countries across the globe. Between 2019 and 2021, civil society activists are calling for the need to develop new mechanisms and legislation to combat this phenomenon.
Tunisia launches new online portal to tackle child sexual abuse. Now, the Egyptian furniture industry has witnessed a significant rise in business despite the impact of the global COVID-19 pandemic. The growth in the sector has been attributed to the increasing demand of goods from the Asian and Middle Eastern countries. Despite the recent surge in sales, producers are working on plans to explore other markets within the continent. Details of that in this report.
Walid Abdel Halim owns a furniture plant in one of Cairo's buzzing streets. He says the higher exports recorded lately by the country's furniture industry is a positive sign, despite the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected other economic sectors.
The main reasons for more exports is because freight costs have increased after the outbreak of the coronavirus. Markets like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, and Sudan, who used to import from countries in faraway regions such as China, turned to close suppliers like Egypt. Egypt is known as the carpenter in this region. There is not much competition here. Only Syria posed a challenge, but it has faded due to instability. That leaves Egypt, in addition to Turkey and China, as the dominant players, while Europe has lost its edge because the prices are too high for our region.
Apart from the local market, Egypt's two largest clients are the Gulf nations of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Producers say they try to cater to their clients' unique needs to boost sales.
The Egyptian market requires all wooden furniture for houses and offices, as well as accessories and hotel furniture. Most of the demand locally is driven by homesteads in search of the Egyptian brand, while for exports, hotels in the Gulf states are our main clients. In Africa, we also export to Ghana, Nigeria, Mauritania, and Senegal.
Despite the sale increase recorded during the period, experts say volumes are still low, but there's potential for more growth, and players in the industry are seeking to expand their market share in neighboring African countries.
We are trying to work more in Africa, but we are struggling because of freight costs and the right means for transporting our products. We don't have direct shipments, which makes it very expensive, and therefore it's hard to present it in the African market. We are targeting East Africa now, starting with Kenya, Tanzania, and their neighboring states.
In the meantime, producers are hopeful African governments will fast-track an ambitious land, railway and shipping route project through the continent that will catapult intra-African trade and investments.
From the report on international, we come back home where National Assembly members have on Tuesday discussed various clauses under the Access to Information Commission bill, putting it forward to consideration. Clause 53, 54, 56 and 57, among others, were looked at, but Section 53, which gives immunity to Access to Information Commission from lawsuits, raised some concern as Justice Minister Dauda Jallow questioned its validity. Here's more of that in this report.
Clause 53, which gives immunity to the Commission from lawsuits, was something that brought contention in the National Assembly. Justice Minister Dauda Jallow said, "It looks bizarre if the Commission can sue people to court while none can sue it." He cited Section 41(2)(b), which states that the Commission can sue and be sued in its own name.
Because the Commission, I saw in other provisions, where the Commission itself can participate in proceedings on its own motion, or the Commission can be asked, can send issues to court for interpretation. Like if somebody is requesting for an information, and the Commission rules that that information should be released, and that particular authority may be in defiance, the Commission can proceed to court. So if it can proceed to court, in what name is it going to go to court? And if it can sue naturally, then it should be able to be sued. So this immunity clause, I don't know what purpose it will serve. It's mutually contradictory, and I don't think it will even stand the test in court.
According to him, this immunity contravenes the Constitution, but believes that members or the executives of the commissions should be given some form of protection. Speaker Mariam Jack Denton then read the National Human Rights Commissions Act to corroborate what the minister said.
I'll just refer you to the National Human Rights Commission Act. Not that, as you rightly said, we're going to copy, but best practice. What it says here is immunity of the executive secretary and staff, other staff. I quote, the executive secretary and any other staff of the commission, not the commission, shall not be subject to civil or criminal proceedings or be personally liable for any act done or omitted to be done in the performance of his or her functions.
Halifa Saleh made this contribution on clause 65 that talks about the auditing powers of the commission and has suggested a different name, but this brought some consultation among parliamentarians.
Yeah, I'm recommending we put supervision powers instead of auditing power.
At the end of the session, Section 53 was amended as immunity of the commission and staff, and it stands as part of the bill as amended. The Access to Information Commission bill is scheduled for third reading, and the sittings continue. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amin Dao.
The Gambia's Access to Information Bill has been tabled before its lawmakers for consideration. Well, that was all we have for you on the World Today newscast here on Africa TV with me, Sohna Tunkara. For more national stories, you can catch up with Mariama Cham on Gambia 24 at 19:30 GMT. Thanks for watching and bye for now.